Chairs No Waiting, episode number 277. He was out. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you by the great folks over at weaversdepartmentstore.com. Head over to Weaver's Department Store and check out the Mayberry stuff they got there. If you're a Mayberry fan or no one, head over to weaversdepartmentstore.com and buy something over there. You'll be helping support the podcast and the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club. The executive producer of Two Chairs No Waiting, number 277, is Brian Rodahaver. Brian, woo! Brian Rodahaver is our executive producer for the episode. Thank you, sir. You too could be an executive producer if you'd like to donate to the show. Just head over to the podcast website and you can do it. I'm your host, Alan Newsome. Not begging for money right up front. Well, yeah, I guess I was. But you don't have to. This is Mayberry, folks. We're just having a good time. Thank you for joining me here at Two Chairs No Waiting, your Andy Griffith Show fan podcast. And this episode's title is He Was Out. He was out. Because last episode, number 276, was he out? And so now I'm telling you, he was out. That is 100%. At least from the number of votes I got online and the calls I received, I believe we have decided he was certainly out. And so we're going to be hearing from a couple of people today from that called in and left us some voicemail related to him being out or not. Plus, we got a few other little items there that we're going to mention as we go. So let's hear first. I want to go ahead and jump right into this. So we're going to hear first from Janet Anderson, who gave me a call about Opie. And the last episode, was he out? So here's Janet. So take it away, Janet.
Hey, Alan. This is Janet Anderson. I just finished watching the podcast, and I really enjoyed it. I don't usually call in with a voicemail, but I decided to do that this time to tell you that I think Opie was out. It seemed pretty clear from the stills that you grabbed that Andy made the right call. What I always found interesting about the picture that Helen took, and I guess because I'm a photographer, I notice these things. But as I recall, Helen was using what was probably just like a little Instamatic or something to take that picture, and yet the picture she took couldn't have been taken with that little Instamatic. It was too close, too zoomed in, and so I always found that a little bit funny that she was able to get such a close, clear shot with her little Instamatic camera. But anyway, I would agree that Opie was out. So that's just my take on it. Appreciate the podcast and keep up the good work. Thanks a lot. Bye.
All right, Janet. Well, thank you for calling in, and I agree with you. He was out. Now, what you can see, and we talked about it last episode, so if you didn't see or hear that, you can head back over to the last episode and listen to it, and you can head over to our Facebook fan page at facebook.com/2chairs and look at the pictures. Or if you watch the video podcast, I show you the pictures. But you can clearly see that when Opie rounds third base, he slides in. He's in a completely different position than the zoomed-in shot that Janet was talking about Helen getting. Now, how in the world did she get that picture? I have to agree. She was using a little instant pocket camera, and this was from the 1965. It wasn't like the new Canon Sure Shots that they have now that are little cameras that have got big zoom lenses on them. This was just a plain, almost like those cameras you can buy at the store currently in 2014 that have film in them, and you can just wind them and take a picture and send it off to the lab, and they send you the whole camera goes off. Anyway, it's kind of like that kind of camera that she was using. And I agree. I don't know how she could have gotten such a close shot of Opie not being tagged when it's a completely different position anyway. So there's just no way that she could have gotten that shot with that camera, or even with really any camera, because the way the original shot is taken, Andy would have actually been in the way from the angle. He would have been standing in between where you wouldn't have been able to see that Opie was getting tagged or not from the original angle. So thank you, Janet. Thanks for agreeing with me. I didn't really have too many people that disagreed. Now we have another caller, Paul Mulick, a friend of the show, has been for years. he called in, and he has this to say about this episode, which is a little bit of a trivia thing that I think you're going to enjoy. So, Paul?
Hi, Alan. It's Paul Mulick from Joplin, Missouri. I enjoyed your recent podcast on the baseball game episode, but it's safe to say that you left something out of your discussion. Ronnie Howard in real life was a very avid baseball and basketball player, and if you look in the credits of that episode, you'll see that it says story by Rance Howard. That's because that episode was inspired by a real baseball game in which Rance ended up reluctantly being asked to be the umpire in a game in which Ronnie was playing. Now, Rance didn't write the episode per se, but they gave him story credit. And one other thing I wanted to add was nobody imagined 50 years ago that we would have these electronal marvels to let us do freeze frames and all that. But along those same lines, I think something else that the listeners might find interesting is sometime if you would do a podcast. Remember the episode where the man comes to Mayberry to make a record, and he rewinds the tape, and it makes that squealing noise, and Barney says, "That's me?" Anyway, if you slow that squealing sound down and play it backwards, you might be surprised at the actual sound that you get. Anyway, that's all for today. 10-4, over, and Roger. Bye.
Well, thanks, Paul, for calling that out as you called in with your call. It was a good call. Paul, thanks again. That was a good, Opie was out, and I believe that. And Paul had this other little bit of trivia he called in about, and it was from the episode Mayberry on Record. And during that, well, let's just hear this, and you guys can decide for yourself. So this is when Barney was recording himself on the
something you say every day as a deputy sheriff.
On the microphone.
Mayberry unit number 1, to all units, Roger and over and under.
So Barney's
10-4,
Barney's a little bit nervous about talking into a recorder.
Well, that's good enough.
Well, that thing sure takes the gumption out of you, don't
Now, let's see how you sound.
And so here's what Paul's talking about.
That's me?
That's rewinding the tape.
Not play it too loud, you'll round up every hog in the county.
Now, let's press this button here and listen to Barney's remarks.
To all units, Roger and over and under.
So that was when Barney was recording his voice there. Now, Paul says if you can stop that and play it backwards, you actually get some audio out of that. So I tried, and I'm not an audio engineer, so if any of you guys out there are, please take your shot at this. But here's what I got. This is what it sounds like. This sounds terrible. Listen to this. Now that's reversed. Now let's hear. This is what the whole clip sounds like. I slowed it down and reversed it. Kind of sounds like a satanic thing to me. And now, this is really a lot longer than this. I'm not going to try to play it for you because I was trying really hard to reverse it and get the audio out of it, but it's really garbled. I could not make out what that said. Now, this part I did make out. He says something about Barney. This is Andy. This is a reverse. Now, I took that original sound, reversed it, and was able to pull out this one little clip here that sounds, I can kind of make it out. So here it is. Listen to this. Somebody's coming out all ears maybe, like Barney, or all airs like Barney. It definitely says like Barney, and it's definitely Andy, but that's actually in the reversed audio clip. I could not make out what all the rest of it was. There was one part of it that sounds like it's probably Don Knotts talking as Barney, but I couldn't make it out. I played with it for probably about 20 minutes or so before the show started today, trying to pull that out, and I couldn't do it. But I'm going to play around with it a little bit more and see if I can make it sound any better. It's really hard because it's got that sound. So it's really hard to pull out the actual audio out of that. So, hey, that's a fun thing, Paul. Thank you for calling that to our attention. You definitely can hear Andy talking in the rewinding part. Well, Andy was not talking when Barney did the forward speaking portion of the shot, because, Andy, it was just Barney talking. It was Barney talking into the mic, and Andy never said anything. So to hear Andy on the rewind is good, because here's what Barney was doing right here.
Mayberry unit
This is
number
what the
one,
recording should be when he rewinds it.
To all units. Roger and over and under. 10 full, 410, 10 full. Bye.
Okay, so that's what it should be. And so there should be nothing of Andy sounding like this. So I don't know what part of the show that's from, or if it's from another show, or if it was just them standing around talking. It's interesting. So if you guys watch Mayberry on Record, or have a capability of doing a better job of this than me, please do it and send me a copy, or let me know what you think they're saying right there, because I just can't pick up on it that good. All right, but Paul, thank you again for calling in. I thought that was fun. That was a lot of fun. So we did have several other people write in and post messages on Facebook and other places, and there was only a couple that said he was safe. Everybody else was going out, 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 out. So Opie was out. If you have a different opinion of that, feel free to give me a call at 888-684-8415, and we'll let you express your opinion, and we'll continue this. All right, so now we have another voicemail, and this one is from Tim Bradshaw. So let's hear what Tim's got to say.
Hey, Alan, this is Tim, Mr. McBeevy. Watching Gomer Pyle the other night, I got my final season for Christmas, and it's been so long since I've seen most of these Gomer Pyle episodes, and I just never remembered. I guess during the time I watched these the first time around, I really didn't know who Sheldon Leonard was, but I was just surprised to see in the final show on Disc 1 where Sergeant Carter is in the A Star Is Born. Sheldon Leonard plays the director at the studio, and I was really surprised too to see some very familiar sights from the Paramount Studios over on Gower, which was the old Desilu Studios, and just really kind of a neat thing to rehash that, and now seeing people that I didn't know who they were before, and now after being with the podcast and studying Mayberry a little closer, I'm starting to realize who people are and their places, and just kind of thought it was a neat thing to see Sheldon Leonard actually playing a part. Oh yeah, by the way, Jamie Farr was in that episode also. Anyway, enjoy the podcast as always, and I sure hope tonight I don't forget to be here when it comes on. Monday night sometimes can get pretty wild for me, but I'm going to do my best to be there tonight, and looking forward to it. Have a great day. Bye.
Oh, that's great. Well, Tim, thank you for giving the call. We appreciate that. And Sheldon Leonard, he was the executive producer of the Andy Griffith Show. He was one of the, he was in there. So if you didn't know that, he was on It's a Wonderful Life as the bartender that whatever the name on Jimmy Stewart goes in and sees there on It's a Wonderful Life. And he was on several things as an actor like that, but he was also heavily involved in the behind-the-scenes stuff as well. So that's really neat to be able to spot him in other shows like Gomer Pyle. That's great. So Tim, I'm glad I am contributing to your trivial information, because the guys at work all think I know all kinds of amazing trivia things, but I really don't know much else, so I'm not sure how much good. Maybe Jeopardy would be a good option for me. I don't know. Especially if they stay in certain genre. If they get over into baseball, I'm never good at that. Or that, what's that category, potent potables? I don't drink, so I have no idea. I never know any of those. So I always hate it when that category comes up. So anyway, I'm glad to be able to contribute to your Mayberry knowledge. So thank you for joining us on the show and for calling in. That was great. All right, folks. Now we had another. This is Jack Fellinger, friend of mine from Mayberry, friend for years now. He had a thing that he sent me in the mail the other day. He had said, and here's what he had to say. He said, another item for your collection. Andy Mayberry, that's his name, is running for Lieutenant Governor of Arkansas and is, of course, an Andy Griffith fan. And Jack asked for bumper stickers and yard signs, and the yard signs should be at his house in a few days. So he sent me a bumper sticker that says, Andy Mayberry for Lieutenant Governor. We're not getting political here on the podcast, but if your name is Andy Mayberry, Andy Taylor, Barney Fife, anything similar to that, and you're running for office, I'll probably mention you. So I checked out his website, and his website is, Jack said he was a big Mayberry fan. And so I checked out Andy Mayberry's website. Well, folks, anytime you go to a politician's website and his name's Andy Mayberry, and the second thing from the left side of the page says nip it in the bud. Oh, I don't know much about this guy, but if I were in Arkansas, I would be finding out. So this is cool. I thought it was fun. And sure enough, I started looking around on his website, and he does talk about in his bio, let's see, I think it's where I read it, that he is a big fan of the Andy Griffith Show. Where did I see it? It wasn't in his bio. It's somewhere. Maybe it was in Nip It in the Bud. Yeah, that's where it was. If you click on Nip It in the Bud in his website, it said he's glad to be named Andy. And he says, my real name is Andy Mayberry, and my middle name is not Of. That's funny. And he doesn't have any family members or friends named Opie or Gomer or Goober. If you laughed or smiled when you first heard my name, that's okay. If I had to be named after a TV show, I'm glad it was that one. The Andy Griffith Show is truly my favorite show of all time. It was funny, and it also taught me plenty of good morals, ethics, and life lessons that I hope my 4 young daughters all learn. Folks in Mayberry got along and helped each other, friends and strangers alike. Plain speaking, honesty, and common sense were traits to be admired. That's Mayberry thinking, and I'm happy to be named Andy Mayberry. So that's his website, and again, I'm not trying to, no political discussion here, other than it's amazing that his name is Andy Mayberry, and he actually is proud of his Mayberry heritage. So, Jack Fellinger, thank you so much for letting me know about this and sending me a bumper sticker for Andy Mayberry for Lieutenant Governor. And he's running in Arkansas. So if you're in Arkansas, at least check him out and find out what you can about him. That's just, how could you not? If you had Barney Fife running for, I don't know, for Secretary of State or what is it, Attorney General, that'd be it. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? If you had Andy Mayberry, and that would be, oh man, I'm laughing just thinking about this. But anyway, again, thanks to Jack for sending me that. I thought that was a lot of fun, so I appreciate it. Oh me, so let's see, what else did I have for us tonight? I don't think I had too much else, but I wanted to talk about this just a second, folks. I just wanted to talk about, because you may be new to this podcast, and I'd like to hear from you if you're new, even if you're not new, about why do you love the Andy Griffith Show. Here we are, Andy Mayberry, talking about why he loves it, saying stuff like because of the plain speaking, honesty, and common sense were traits to be admired. There's so many reasons I like the Andy Griffith Show. You got Andy and Barney and Floyd and Goober and Gomer, and I don't know how you even think about these guys without smiling, because there's so many different little nuances in their character that just makes you smile when you think about them. Whenever people bring up the Andy Griffith Show to me, there's always a smile on their face. And, I think that's something to be thankful for. And that's one of the reasons 277 episodes into this podcast, I'm still enjoying talking about the Andy Griffith Show, Been doing it since 2008. And every week, the folks gather in the chat room, which there's about 14 of them in there tonight. And they're just having fun visiting with one another as I record the podcast here on a Monday night. I want to invite you guys to join us on Monday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. You can head over to twocairsnowaiting.com and click the live button up at the top, the live link, and you can head straight over into the chat room and visit, and you'll be able to watch the video of me giving whatever that week's podcast is. But mainly, you'll be able to visit with other Mayberry fans right there online and chat with them. Even if you don't actually chat, you can just read all the comments they make. And I guarantee you, if you start reading them, you're going to want to join in. Because isn't that what it's like? If you hear somebody talking about the Andy Griffith Show, don't you just want to tell them something like, oh, do you remember when Barney said, talked about the giraffes? Or, just so many things like that you just come to your mind that you want to share. Well, share it with them. And make sure they know about this podcast, and make sure they know about imayberry.com and the other Mayberry sites that are out there, because there's a lot of Mayberry fans, they just don't know. And so, man, they're missing out on a lot of fun and a lot of fun, wonderful people that they could get to know, just like you. So make sure you tell your Mayberry friends about the podcast, about the websites, about the iMayberry community, all those things, because there's so many people missing out on just all the fun that we have every week. So, all right, folks, that is all I have for you tonight. I want to invite you to give me a call at 888-684-8415. Tell me why you love the Andy Griffith Show. You can also email me at floyd@imayberry.com. Drop by the Facebook fan page at facebook.com/2chairs, or just drop by our website, twocairsnowaiting.com, and leave comments over there. Folks, great to spend time here in Mayberry with you, and until next week, y'all have a great Mayberry week, and we'll see you later. Bye.